Let's remember, it has been 49 days since a shooter assassinated Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. Since then, President Trump has posthumously awarded Kirk the Medal of Freedom. On October 14th, Kirk's birthday, it's been declared a national day of remembrance for him. And now a group of senators is pushing for a statue of Kirk to be included in President Trump's proposed National Garden of American Heroes. In a letter to the president, the lawmakers wrote in part this: the inclusion of Mr. Kirk in the National Garden would not only honor his personal achievements, but would also underscore the vital role that civic engagement plays in our national heritage, end quote. If approved, a sculpture of Kirk would join the likes of Martin Luther King Jr., Albert Einstein, and Abraham Lincoln. The garden is set to open in July in South Dakota, right near Mount Rushmore. I'm joined now by the senator leading this push to include Kirk, Republican Bill Cassidy of Louisiana. Sir, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Anna. Good to be with you.
Senator, there's been renewed attention on the National Garden of American Heroes after J.D. Vance's Turning Point event. You saw Jessica there at Ole Miss, of course, including adding figures like Charlie Kirk. Tell me why you think Kirk belongs in that lineup.
Ask why there's 9,500 students there. Ask why there's a motivation by young people to drive from neighboring states to be there. Yes, it's the vice president. It's really the pivot point of what's happening, which is Charlie Kirk. And you may argue now his wife, who's become quite inspirational. In that garden, Charlie represents for young people what other iconic people represent for others. Why should we not honor someone who's engaged in a way which was so positive, reaching out to those who disagreed, and in turn brought people into the political process in a constructive, civil way, as opposed to a violent, angry way?
Yeah, he certainly touched a lot of young people. We're seeing it play out at Ole Miss, to your point. I'm going to switch gears here a bit, Senator. You've been one of the senators backing Josh Hawley's bill to keep SNAP funded even during the shutdown going on day 30. Why did you decide to support it?
Well, of course, we could have SNAP funding tomorrow if Chuck Schumer would stop the shutdown. But we should not. There's like 800,000 kids, people in my state, 350,000 children who rely upon food stamps. My governor may do a short-term thing, but the reality is that if the federal government has made this commitment for a family, which otherwise doesn't have the means to purchase food for their children, we should honor that because families have come to depend upon it. We're a rich nation. We don't want those children to go hungry. Again, I applaud my governor because he's trying to pick up the slack. President Trump has tried to fill in. Chuck Schumer could end it tomorrow by ending the shutdown. But in the meantime, let's get the SNAP benefits to the children who need it. It just seems the right thing to do. Would be if it was my child or your child, but let's do it for someone else's child.
Let's talk about Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. There is news he may get behind it. Do you see this as a rare bipartisan moment, or do you worry it will get folded into broader negotiations moving forward?
You know, this should be a bipartisan moment. If there's one thing that we can agree is that children should not go hungry. And so if he would get behind this, that would be great.
Let's move on to the shutdown. As of today, there are some reports, even some optimism, progress in the shutdown. Can you give us your read? Is that optimism justified?
It might be. People are recognizing that when the Schumer shutdown, although it could end tomorrow, has not ended for almost a month. And the longer it goes, the more the troops aren't paid, the air traffic controllers aren't paid, keep on going down the list. And so at some point, folks realize that it's time to end. I'm hoping that time has come now.
I want to switch gears. Once again, it's a busy day. You've been one of the most vocal Republicans pressing RFK Jr. on vaccines. In recent hearings, you also said just last month that parents should not have confidence in the vaccine advisory panel if it's reshaped under Kennedy appointees. That's a strong statement. Do you still stand by that, Senator?
But the ACIP right now has kind of tossed the consensus of science out the window. Not entirely. There's some things that they are pressing upon but not yet have changed. But I'm very uncomfortable with the rationale they're using for their decisions. I continue to encourage parents to speak to your child's pediatrician, but vaccines are safe and effective. I'm a doctor, I have seen children and adults die from vaccine-preventable diseases. When I used to speak to the older pediatricians, They said before the measles vaccine, there were hospital wards filled with children there with complications of measles. We've had 2 children die in West Texas from measles, a vaccine preventable disease. So anything which suggests that the vaccines are not safe and effective, and that the benefit of taking is much, much greater than the risk of taking, is misleading. And we've been hearing a lot of misleading talk.
Yeah, how dangerous are these statements coming from the White House to all the parents out there who are probably very confused with the messaging?
Actually, the president has stated his support for immunization. And I'll note that when the president got his physical, he got both the flu and the COVID vaccine. Way back when somebody was talking about ending the polio shot, President Trump was like, no, we're not going to do that. And that talk stopped. So the president has spoken out quite favorably about immunization, and that's a good thing. The president's probably, he is old enough to remember people having complications from vaccine preventable diseases. You don't have to get vaccinated.
But the head of the health department that President Trump appointed obviously is saying the complete opposite thing.
Not the complete opposite thing. I'll note that after the 2 children died in West Texas, Secretary Kennedy said that children should be vaccinated for measles, if you will.
For measles.
But I absolutely, there's things that he and I disagree with on. Again, I'm a doctor. I have seen people die from complications of hepatitis B. I've seen people who were infected at birth from hepatitis B. And so if you're have not had the benefit of my experience, you may not realize that. But some people are infected at birth from their mother with hepatitis B. I don't want that to happen. By the way, I'll also point out that President Trump considers Operation Warp Speed one of his great achievements, in which a vaccine that was supposed to take 18 months at least, maybe 10 years, was ready in 10 or 11 months. And at that time, saved millions of lives and reopened the economy. I'll say the president's pretty pro-vaccine.
Senator Cassidy, I want to ask you about something completely different now. There is recent reporting. It shows Governor Jeff Landry hosted a meeting directly with the LSU Board of Supervisors to fire Coach Brian Kelly. It happened inside the governor's mansion. He's even said he prefers President Donald Trump picking the next coach. As you know, this is usually a decision that comes from the university. You sit on the federal committees overseeing higher education. Do you see anything problematic in a governor exerting influence over a university's athletic program?
Actually, what he said is that the Board of Supervisors will appoint, which is the people that head the university, that the Board of Supervisors will get a commission or some committee that will help decide. And so it's still the university deciding, and it's the right thing for the university to decide.
But, this is obviously becoming a big headline. It's become a big story. What do you think about the governor and how he's handling this?
Well, the governor said that as I understand it, let me start over. The governor can do what he wants. LSU football is big back home, and if you look at
yes.
And if you look at it, people are not like, if you look at the Advocate, which is the local paper in Baton Rouge, the top 10 red stories are all about this coach. Now the governor said he's not picking the coach. So, but he did meet with the Board of Supervisors, and the Board of Supervisors is going to have a role in it. That's not unusual. That's been done in the past. As I recall, the president of the university and maybe the Board of Supervisors had a role in picking Nick Saban when he came to LSU long ago. So it's not always just the athletic director. So it could just be going back to where things once were.
Senator Cassidy, we touched on a lot of topics tonight. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, go Tigers.